Hello, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful Sussex Kindness Symposium 2025. This is the first in a new series, so we're really excited about it. My name is Robin Banerjee. I'm a professor of developmental psychology and also the university's Pro-Vice Chancellor for Global and Civic Engagement. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here talking about kindness the day after World Kindness Day. I hope you had a wonderful time on World Kindness Day. But I'm talking to you about kindness because I actually founded the Research Centre for Kindness at Sussex, the Sussex Centre for Research on Kindness. And I'm so pleased that you're all here with us today to talk about the business of kindness. And the Sussex Centre for Research on Kindness was created with a vision of illuminating the nature of kindness and its impacts on people and communities all around the world. And we wanted to work across lots of different sectors. Now, I have to tell you, my background is in particularly working with children and young people in schools and colleges. So I have that focus on developmental psychology and education. And I was really interested in kindness in terms of the relationships that children and young people are navigating in their school environments. But soon, in Sussex, which is a very, very interdisciplinary place, soon I began to find that people were interested in this as a lens through which they could look at a whole range of different areas, from social work to medicine, to politics, to international aid, humanitarian crises around the world, so much. But we also found the connection with business. And what's been really exciting is to think about how we can conceptualize the importance of kindness in business. And I am absolutely delighted to be bringing into this discussion today to talk about the business of kindness, a wonderful person from the Timpson Group, Janet Leighton. Can we ask Janet to join in the session? Is Janet on now? Fantastic. I think she is. Janet, can you see everybody? Can you see me anyway?
I can certainly see you, Robbie.
Fantastic. It's lovely to see you, Janet. I have to say, we've got a lot of people in this webinar, and I think I should just say right at the beginning, for everybody who's joining online, you are able to type comments in the Q&A box. You should be able to see a Q&A box down at the bottom. We will come on to those questions that you have and comments that you might have later on, so please feel free to use that. But there will also be some interactive activities for you because we want to hear from you and understand where you're coming from throughout this time. But Janet, of course, it's the conversation with you that everybody is most excited about today. Would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us about what you do at Timpson's?
Thank you very much, Robin. And thank you very much for inviting me on here today to talk about the Timpson Group and our culture.
Thank you very much.
So
Tell us about your role.
Yeah, so my role is, I'll talk about my title first. My title is actually Director of Happiness. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of the people that I actually deal with are really unhappy, which it's quite strange, really, isn't it?
It's so you're actually bringing in something to address that. How does that role actually land with people when you describe that, Director of Happiness?
Well, two things. The first is always, I wish I had your job title, and I'd be a multimillionaire by now if I had a pound for everybody who said it. And secondly, when people have stopped smiling because they just think it's such a wonderful role, then they begin to realise the seriousness of it and the importance of looking after people and taking the time to do that, because
it's about connecting with people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's all about connection. My role, day in, day out, is all about connecting with people.
Fantastic.
And supporting them and their families.
Fantastic. That is so, so interesting. And, you know, I mean, today's conversation is really about generating some insight into this kind of connection of kindness, happiness, and the business world. Because as you say, a lot of people will say, Really? Kindness? Happiness? You're talking about that in a business setting? How does that work, right? And to be honest, that's even true for my own experience as the founder of this research center on kindness, because people say, research center on kindness? Because that is pretty unique. It's a very unique thing. And people say, really, is that an academic subject? Because I think there's a sense that it's just this soft, fluffy thing that's not really serious at all. And how can that be a sort of a focus of research? And well, I might talk about how we got into that in a moment. But do you find that there's that kind of reaction as well when you start talking about kindness or happiness in a business context?
Definitely, 100%. What people don't realize is that kindness is actually a strength in a business, and it's not just a nice to have, a luxury. All businesses should embed kindness within their culture because it makes such a big difference.
That's so interesting. I really want to get into the detail of that about what difference it makes and the insights that you've got from your experience. And what I'll do as well is I might throw in a few examples that we've gleaned from our research in this area, because we have done quite a lot of research, hearing from thousands, tens of thousands of people about their experiences of kindness. And it'd be really interesting to, in a way, get serious about kindness, right? Because there is a really profound story to be told about it.
And it is such a serious issue. People
So
take it for granted, but
exactly.
it makes a difference to society. If everybody was just a little bit more kind, society would be a much better place.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You're getting a take-home message already, everybody. But listen, before we dive into the detail of it, I want to know, and Janet, I bet you do as well, who is in the room? We've got a lot of people who are attending live. I know a lot of people will be catching up on this later, but we already do have lots of people who are attending live at the moment. And I think this is going to be new for me. I haven't done a Zoom poll yet, but we're going to try a Zoom poll. And my colleagues who are working really hard in the background, I think they're going to release the first poll. Here it is. Can you see that? You should now have a poll pop up on your screen, and it does say hosts and panelists cannot vote. Oh, that's all right. That's me and you, Janet. So we
Yeah.
won't be able to vote, but everybody else can vote. Okay. So you can just pop that. I'm going to move that across to the side. So please do, if you're happy to, describe what your current occupation is, enter your job title if you're happy to do that, describe what sector you're working in, and even tell us what organization you're working in. And we'll see what we learn from that in a moment. But I have to say, this is really exciting. Feels to me like quite a pioneering set of conversations for us to have. And I just think there is something about raising the visibility of all of this, raising the awareness of all of this. Janet, can you tell us, while people are filling in their details here, we'll look at the answers in a minute, but can you tell us how long has this been operating at Timpson? So your role, Director of Happiness, how long have you had that role? And has there been a bit of a task of sort of raising the visibility of this as an issue, like raising the awareness of, no, actually, this is serious and we do want to pay attention to it? How long has that been
Yes,
going on for?
our culture, um, which is all about upside down management, actually started nearly 30 years ago now, which is a long time ago.
So
Um,
and would you say it's always been there in that culture?
that culture has been embedded for a long time. However, we've been on a journey
Okay.
and we'll continue to be on that journey in terms of culture, putting people first. As a business, we can always improve. No business is perfect, just like no person is perfect. I'm far from it. But we can work hard to achieve. So our chairman, many, many years ago, decided that he wanted to work in a business, bear in mind it was his business, that was all about upside down management, putting people first.
Okay. Okay.
So he very cleverly went into our branches to speak to our colleagues, not the senior managers, not their area managers, but themselves, to say, you have got the freedom and autonomy to do what you need to do to give excellent customer service. And
So
that's
going
where it all
straight to the
started.
people in the branches,
The people that did the work,
people
yes.
that did the work.
The
And
people that
sorry,
knew.
you know what? I'm just realizing I've done such a bad job of introducing the whole thing. But Janet, can you just say a little bit about what Timpson does, actually? Because I'm sure many people, probably everybody is aware, but just for the sake of it, do you want to just clarify? So, who are the people who are in the branches? What are they doing? What is the work that they're doing?
Okay, so the Timpson Group, a lot of people will see the Timpson shops on the high street or our Timpson pods, which are in most of the supermarkets. We also own Johnson's Dry Cleaners,
Yeah.
Max Spielman, who do photos, and then we have our high-end photos that are Snappy Snaps, mainly from
Okay.
Birmingham down south, and they're really high-end. So they
Right.
form part of the group. We have a lot of businesses within that group. We just work, we collaborate together, roll our sleeves up, and actually get things done. So
Love
that's
that.
what the business is all about. But the people at the front end, the people that really make all the difference to our customers, are our colleagues in the branches
Right.
who are doing key cutting, shoe repairing, who are talking to a customer day in and day out. And that might be the only person that that customer speaks to.
So those interactions really matter, don't they? And so with that upside down management concept, the focus was on speaking directly to those people. It's not that the power is in a few people at the top of the organization, the CEO, CFO, and so on, but it's actually speaking to the people who are on the front line doing the work and interacting with the customers.
100%. So if you think about most businesses, you've got your CEO, your chairman, your senior leadership team at the top, at the bottom, your more junior colleagues.
Yeah, yeah.
Forget that completely, turn it on its head. Think about a pyramid. At the top
Right,
of our pyramid, you've got the customers, because we
right.
want to give excellent customer service. And right below them are our colleagues in branches that are serving those customers. Okay.
Wow, wow.
Go all the way to the bottom of the pyramid and you'll find John Timpson.
That's
He's
so
our
interesting,
chairman.
isn't it? That's so interesting. So, but you know, when you said actually the journey started with this upside down concept, talking with the branch managers who are there actually delivering the work, doing it
Yeah.
with the customers. What what were they talking about? So what were the conversations meant to do? What were you hoping to get from those conversations, or what was the chairman hoping to get from the conversations at that point?
A total change. What he
Okay.
wanted was the colleagues to appreciate that they have got freedom to be the best they can be, but
Okay.
also because he went straight to them and not the senior people, that sent a message to say our colleagues have got freedom and autonomy to do what they want to do to give excellent customer service. And in some respects, some of the senior managers went back to the branches and said, oh no, you haven't got freedom to make all your decisions. And we actually lost those managers because they couldn't handle it.
Because that is so, I mean, that is the conventional approach, right? That
Yes,
it's a bit more top down.
yes,
And
yes.
so is that what you mean by that idea of going on a journey? So people have to really adjust to a very different upside down way of working.
Correct. So the more senior you are in our business, it just means that you're there to support and give autonomy to more people.
Wow. Wow. And so this journey started, as you say, around 30 years ago in
Mhm.
terms of developing this new model of change.
Yes.
And how, I mean, it sounds like a banal question, but how has it been going? I mean, how do you feel it's actually worked? Has it been a difficult journey? Has it been an easy journey? What's it been like?
I think initially it was just before my time because I've only done 21 years. So I'm still quite new to the business. There's a lot of people who've done 40 years, 50 years. So the
Wow.
transition would have been quite difficult. But what we do in our business is when we want to make changes, we keep reaffirming, keep reaffirming. So whenever people come to our business, all they'll hear is colleagues, colleagues, culture, colleagues. It's naturally embedded in us. It's the
Wow, that's
heart of
really
what we
interesting
do.
because almost like you're scaling up and out, zooming out in a sense, and actually living and breathing the kind approach, right? The collaborative approach, the connected approach, even in the process of just hearing about people's stories and so on, you're actually embodying that kindness in the work that you're doing.
Yes, because we believe that you can't just say to somebody, you need to be good at something. You've got to show what good looks like.
Right,
You've
right.
got to act it. You've got to behave in that manner. So you've got to have honesty, integrity.
You know, it's so interesting because, as I said in my introduction, I do lots of research on kindness in a school context, thinking about children's relationships. And I've often talked about the fact that this can't just be about a teacher stood up in front of the children and saying, like, you've got to be kind, or I'm going to teach you how to resolve a conflict in the playground peacefully, or something like that. I mean, that might happen as well, but there's also got to be a kind of culture of kindness in the school. And that's not even just about instructing children. That's how staff are with each other. That's how the organization works as a workplace as well. And that actually is what really got me thinking about kindness as being something that we can really look at quite seriously across all sorts of different workplace environments. Because it's not just about instructing people how to be, it's actually about being it yourself all the time.
Yep.
It's
And you
fantastic.
can't, you've got to earn respect from each other. You can't just ask for respect. And it's
That's
the
so,
same with kindness.
yeah.
By being kind, people see how to live in a kind manner.
Exactly. Well, listen, I want to get onto your specific role because you talked about director of happiness and how that operates within this culture. I want to learn a bit more about it. But before we do, I'm wondering if I can ask my colleagues in the background if they can share the results from that first question about who's in the room. Is there an easy way for us to see a bit more about who is joining us at the moment? Let's see if anything comes through. Oh, look at that. There we go.
Wow.
That's the first question. Oh, so we do have, not surprising maybe, because we are in a university and we've got a lot of research connections. Education and early years is quite dominant, but also health and pharmaceutical, legal and protective, transport and logistics, digital, creative and design. That's very nice. And then, of course, not surprisingly, we've also got a bunch of people in business management and administration. That's brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Oh, I can scroll up. And quite a range, entrepreneurs, employees, academic researchers, and so on as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Now, we'll have a bit more detail when we report back on this later. But you can see, Janet, we've got quite a range of people in the room at the moment, which is really nice. And I suppose one of the things I wanted to try and grasp from this conversation is how specific is this to Timpson? Or do you think that this is something that really applies anywhere? I mean, are the lessons that you've just been beginning to articulate, are they really lessons that can apply to any business? Or do you think it's actually only certain types of things, certain types of workplaces? What do you think?
No, I would say that it could relate to absolutely any business at all. Any business at all, because you can do it at different levels. You know, we have lots of big things we do. We have lots of benefits. And I host lots of businesses in Timpson House. And what I say to them is, look at our benefits, see what you like, take them from us and make them your own. You don't have to be a big business like ours with 5,000 colleagues.
Wow.
You could
So,
do it with 20 colleagues.
so the principles are kind of, you would feel are almost universal principles. That's
It
really
definitely is. It definitely is.
wow.
It's very simple and very effective. To be kind, you don't have to spend lots of money.
No, and that's a very interesting point, isn't it? Because this isn't something that requires some massive new investment in terms of money, but it does require an investment of some sort, doesn't it? It requires an investment in terms of people's energy and their time and their focus. What do you think needed to happen in order to bring people with you on that journey? When you think about that story of this journey that Timpson has been on to kind of bring kindness and trust into everyone's sort of mentality, everybody's way of thinking about work. What did they need to put in? What what resources needed to be there for it to happen?
I think just time and energy. And when I say
Okay.
resources, again, you know, I'm a director of happiness. You could have a well-being manager. You could have a very junior colleague who's really good at things like this. So it's
Hmm.
about finding the right people within your business, and you don't need teams of people to do this. You just need somebody who will focus on people,
Absolutely, absolutely.
you know, and somebody who is able to deal with a situation calmly without taking on board everybody else's problems.
And that idea of a kind of a, a calm approach to being able to
Yes.
address the issues that arise, I think feels like a really important one. Well, we'll come on to that in a second because I do want to hear a bit more about your specific role. But before we get on to that, can I just ask you one other thing about the wider context? And that is about whether this focus on this kind of culture of kindness, focus on colleagues' well-being and their happiness, do you think that's something that is kind of a new imperative? Do you think it's something we need now more than ever, or do you think it's basically timeless and it's just the way it always needs to be, regardless of whatever's going on in the world? So I'm just wondering about the here and now. Is there a
Yeah.
particular drive where you feel like actually this really, really matters now?
I think, particularly in today's society, we all know that things are going on in the world, things are very difficult out there financially. The UK is struggling with government, lots of different things going on. People are naturally very wary
Yeah, yeah,
and feel very uncertain about the country's future at the moment. So if you take that into just one family who've got young children and they need to feed the children, they need to make sure they get to school on time, they need to buy the uniforms, they need to do all that. And they're just basics. So you can imagine the worry that's going on with lots of colleagues across lots of businesses. It's not just our business that has colleagues who worry and get concerned. Every business has got them.
everybody.
It's just in our business, our colleagues are encouraged to talk about it. And
As
there
opposed
lies a big
to,
difference.
okay, so that's really interesting. That idea of encouraging people to talk about it. So how does that manifest itself? So where do people talk about it? How do you provide the conditions so that people can share what's going on for them?
Because our business is based on relationships and good, strong relationships, whether that's
Hmm.
line managers, more junior colleagues, we've got a very open and trusting business and
Right.
culture. So people are happy to talk to one another. They're not afraid to be very open.
That's so interesting. And it feels like that is especially important right now when there is so much uncertainty about some of the really, really worrying and troubling things that are happening in the world, right? You only have to switch on the news every day to feel it, but you're also feeling it from your own lives. I think that's what people will be experiencing. So the idea of having a culture of openness feels right like a really, really significant thing. You know, this is really putting me in mind of one big project that we ran a few years ago. It was just actually in the middle of the whole sort of national lockdowns after COVID. We ran a very big project called a kindness test. It was a BBC project focused on kindness, and we had tens of thousands of people lending their views, sharing their experiences and their perceptions and beliefs about kindness in the world. And one of the questions that got a lot of attention in the media at the time was the effect of COVID. And I'm
Mhm.
really interested in the idea of connection being important at times of adversity as well. Because what we did was we asked people about if they felt that kindness had changed during their lifetime, and how. And people were mostly like, it had either stayed the same or it declined, they felt. So very few people had said that it increased in their lifetime. But the question that got a lot of attention from the media was when we asked about the effects of COVID. And we asked people about whether they thought that kindness, whether COVID had made any change to levels of kindness, whether it increased or decreased or stayed the same. And what we found was that overall, something like 2/3 of people felt that kindness had increased after COVID. Now that was in 20 some, I think it must have been summer 2021. And a lot of people asked me in the media at the time, like, why do you think that's happening? And what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to hold on to it? Right. And for me, there was something really important about human connection. People were desperate for that human connection, and there was a sense of pulling together. I know everybody had very, very different experiences during COVID, very different experiences, but there was something about people really valuing connections with each other during that time. And I suppose there's a question now of saying that, is this also right now? COVID has happened, but there's an awful lot of things happening in the world. Is this also a time where connection really matters and we need to give space for it? What do you think about that, Janet? Do you think that now is a time when connection really matters?
I think it really does matter. Yes, we're not in COVID times, but we are in very uncertain times. And that's why we need each other. And that's not just we need each other at home, we need each other at work, whether that's to get a job done, which we all need to do. We've all got responsibilities at work to make sure jobs happen and get completed, but also the connection with each other, to be able to ask somebody, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? You don't seem yourself today. Rather than just, are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Bye. Which is what a lot of people do because we're all very busy.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
about stepping back and making sure that actually you are asking them that question properly.
So it's creating that space very purposefully, very, very deliberate, almost explicitly creating a space for people to connect and to share.
Yes. And listening.
Right.
We're all good, aren't we, at talking? You or I am. We're all really good at talking. Sometimes it's very difficult to actually listen. Are you really hearing what that person is saying to you? And sometimes that can be difficult for a lot of us, especially me. I talk a lot at home. I really do. I'm about to get told not to sometimes. So it can be difficult, and especially in a busy work environment as well. There's a lot of noise, a lot of people talking about different things, excitement. Sometimes you've just got to take that space and say, I'm here for you and I want to listen to you. But then when you do listen to somebody, you've got to be able to take on board what it is they're actually saying. And if they're asking for help.
Is that basically the role description for a director of happiness? Is that what you do?
I do a lot of it. My role, I'll talk a little bit about my role. So my role is split into three ways. The first one is looking after our colleagues' financial well-being. So we might have a colleague, well, we have lots of colleagues who have financial issues, whether their car's broken down or they need to move to a new property. And we talk about these things, and then it might be, we have a hardship fund. So what I might do is give them a loan.
Okay.
Or if we've got a colleague who is in serious debt and can't face dealing with their issues, I'll say, I'll come and see you. I'll sit down around the table with you and we'll work through them together. We'll open your envelopes together.
Wow. So it's very practical, very concrete.
Very practical, very practical. So we do that together. We look at a budget, we work through a budget planner, and then determine how best we can support that colleague. But what you can't do is go and see the colleague, open the envelopes, and then walk away and say, your envelopes are open now. Bye. You've got to follow it through.
Right.
So a lot of my role is spent encouraging our colleagues to look at the finances, to work out what the problems are. We do that together, but they have to take ownership as well.
Right. Right.
So we're not a business that's just there to just keep doing everything for everybody. It works two ways. We want people to learn to take ownership for their issues, but we'll support them.
But it's fantastic that you're actually taking that interest in the colleagues' experiences, right? Because you're actually making a very proactive step to engage with their challenges, their worries, which in many cases, in many workplaces, will just be down to the people to sort out by themselves. And actually, you are providing that scaffold.
Yes, it's the most natural thing to do for us, but it's twofold. If we support them and help them and guide them, then when they're coming into work, they're going to be more productive, happier, take more money, put it in the till, goes into the bank, and that's why as a business, Timpson Group is cash rich. very cash rich. Because we look after our colleagues look after the business.
That's so interesting. And even literally at that financial level, providing that financial support in terms of education, financial literacy, and then that social support to the colleagues who might be struggling with things. So very practical, but also very social and emotional as well.
Yes, yes,
Fantastic.
it certainly is. The second part of my role is looking after the emotional well-being of our colleagues.
Okay. Okay.
Again, follow the same format. If they're worried, concerned, the well-being is really poor, the emotional well-being, then they're going to come to work. And as much as people say, oh, don't take your problems to work, people do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We want our colleagues who are serving in branches to be feeling strong enough emotionally to be able to look after other customers who come in, who might be having a bad day, who might have, especially in our photo business, we have a lot of customers who've just lost a loved one.
Oh.
We have a lot of that. So our colleagues need to be resilient enough to be able to say to somebody, let me help you. I know you've lost a loved one. What can we do to help? And that's what they do. So we're supporting them, and they can then support customers who may never come back again, or might come and tell everybody else about it.
That's so interesting. And there's such a in some ways surprising parallel with the work that I do with children and young people in schools and community settings for young for children, because I often find myself making that same point, that it's not just about the support directly to the children, it's also the support for the staff who are working with the children as well, because
Yeah.
they're absorbing an awful lot. They're absorbing so much. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, they need to be resilient, and they need to be well emotionally, and they need to be tooled up in order to be able to manage the things that they're experiencing, in order to be able to provide the support to the children who are experiencing really significant adversity.
That's right. And in many businesses, you'll get the people who are doing the supporting, but they don't feel supported themselves.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
you need that support across the group. So any business needs that function where people do feel supported at any level, whether you're the most senior person, whether you're the most junior person, which why working and collaborating together and trusting each other and having an open culture is paramount in a business.
That's really important, though, because it suggests that it's not just you. I mean, so you're doing it in the role of director of happiness,
Mm.
providing that support for emotional well-being, but you're
Mm.
also cultivating a way of everybody to pass that on as well. It's cascaded throughout the organization.
Yeah, yeah, because we want every one of our managers to be a great manager. And to
Mm-hmm.
be a great manager, you've got to support your colleagues.
Right, right.
But again, we live and breathe it day in and day out, which is why it's the most natural thing in the world for us.
I love that. I love that. So that's the second area. So we've got the financial, you've got the emotional. What's the third one?
And the third one is I act as an ambassador. So I would do podcasts, host people at
Like you're
Timpson
doing
House.
today.
Yeah, meet wonderful people like you and the team, Robin. Yeah, so we have a lot of visitors to Timpson House, and you're welcome. People are always welcome to Timpson House. It's a very unique place. It's very nice. It's very light. It's fun. We have a fireman's pole there that people used to go up and down. Most people can't
Wow.
get up it, but most people go down it.
That would be me,
Uh,
though.
yeah, and yeah, it's a great place to be. So, and we have a brilliant Cobbler's Cafe. It's called Cobbler's
Oh.
because it's Timpson, and the cafe is because we've got two fantastic chefs who feed us really well. So it's a great place for anybody to ever come and visit.
That sounds like you're meeting everybody's needs. I love that in every sense. That's really great. So that's going on my destination list. I love that. But Janet, as you're talking, it's reminding me again of some other research that we've done on kindness. Going right back to that study that we did in 2021 on kindness experiences in the general public. One of the things that we found there was that kindness was related to well-being in a really profound and multi-dimensional way, because it wasn't just about receiving the kindness that was linked to well-being, right? Because of course, when you experience some kindness from other people, that can feel pretty good. But it wasn't just that. giving kindness was independently associated with higher levels of well-being. And so was even noticing kindness, even just seeing kindness was independently associated with well-being. And I suppose what you're doing when you talk about that kind of ripple effect of it's kind of spreading through the organization, you're hitting on all of those points, right? Because people are receiving kindness, but they're also giving the kindness and they're also seeing it around them.
That's exactly how it works. And we shout about our kindness. So we have, we're really lucky. We have a really glossy magazine every week that comes out. It's called the Timpson Group News, and it's just full of great things. It's full of pictures of our colleagues, all the great stuff they're doing. It's just all positive stuff. It's about the people. It's not about the stats. In fact, the stats are on the last page, right at the back of the 16-page magazine.
Really?
So that shows you something about how important the stats are compared to the people.
That's so
But
interesting.
if you get the right people, you'll get the right stats.
Which, okay, so that brings me to the thing that I always feel like is a bit of a challenge, because again, I'll give you an example which might feel very, very different, but I'm seeing these commonalities, right? So when I'm working in schools, very often I've had people who'll say to me, Robin, I really like what you're doing. I can see it's really important and it's good for, children's well-being and staff and all of that. I get it. But they said, I'm under such pressure. Is it going to make a difference to my, if it's a head teacher, I don't know, GCSE results, right? Because the accountability framework is so focused on these sort of headline results in terms of like exam performance, things like that. And, always have to make the case that, what, these are not in opposition to each other. In fact, it's the opposite. They go hand in hand. And everything we've done in our research shows that. So I'm just wondering, Janet, just as much as I make the argument when I'm working with children and young people in school settings that investing in mental health and well-being and relationships is not a distraction from the core business of academic performance and results, it actually goes hand in hand with that. It actually supports it. Does that translate into a business environment? I guess what I'm saying, Janet, is do the commercial pressures get in the way of being able to do what you do? Or do you find that it actually fits together, that it can lock in with each, these things lock in with each other?
They fit together perfectly. We only look at two main things in our business. Yeah, we have your normal P&Ls, you have all the filing stuff, that's fine. We have the budgets, but we don't bother about the budgets. We bother about two things in our business, two very, 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 very important things. One is how much cash is in the bank on a daily basis, okay?
That sounds like quite a commercial pressure, okay.
That is major, okay? And the second one is our happy index.
Okay,
so you compare that to a normal staff survey. And when I speak to other businesses and I say, how many questions are on your staff survey? And they'll go, oh, there's 40. And I get to number 10 and I've had enough. And
we've done it as well, I've got to say.
Yeah, most people do. Most people do. We have one question, only one question that goes out every April. That's effectively our staff survey. We call it the Happy Index. It's our staff survey. It goes out to every colleague in the business. And the one question is, how happy are you with the support from your area manager or your line manager? Okay. What we want is the name of the line manager or the area manager.
Yeah.
Okay. You can stay anonymous if you want, but that is vital. And also what we say is, please feel free to fill out anything you want to say. So basically from 0 to 10, unhappy face up to happy face, cross to circle it, tick it, do what you want with it. And then if you don't want to put any comments, that's fine, but we'd love you to put some comments. That all gets collated together.
Okay.
And when that happens, it's like A-level results day. Okay?
I bet.
Because nobody wants to be at the bottom of that table. So it's all about support. Yeah? And that is major. So if our area manager might have 85 colleagues. Let's say he's got 85 colleagues. He's got to support all 85 colleagues to do really well. And let's just say he doesn't. Let's just say he doesn't do well. So he works with 2 or 3 area development managers to make that happen. If he does really poorly, we will say, what can we do to help? These are the issues. We're going to redo yours, just your area, in 6 months' time.
Okay.
That's how serious it is. 6 months' time, and we expect better results. If we don't get better results, then either the area manager will step down, maybe go into a branch, or the area manager knows that it's time to leave.
Wow. Wow.
So
So
those 2
serious
things,
business, going back to that point, serious business.
very
So happiness,
serious,
but serious.
very, very serious.
So, okay, but you said the 2 things, which I thought was really striking kind of combination side by side. How much money is in the till, and then the happy index. And, the question I was posing was, do the commercial pressures get in the way of being able to spread this culture? So how do you feel like those 2 things connect with each other?
They
What do you
connect
see?
really, really well. They connect really, really well because it's the whole ethos of what we do.
Okay.
Because we don't think, oh, we're very commercial, but we'll add on a bit of kindness and support. Our focus is kindness and support to enable us to be very commercial. Because the more we support our colleagues, the more invested they are in our business.
Right.
The more wealth we have to reinvest in our colleagues and to reinvest in the business and grow the business.
So you've got this kind of virtuous cycle, basically.
Yeah.
It's almost like the happy index is kind of serving as a sort of a foundation for the other job of getting money in the till.
Yeah, that's how we know how supported our colleagues are. By doing that one question, that survey, we know how happy our colleagues are.
Wow, that's so interesting because, again, going back to that research that we did, and we've actually done a lot of work in different workplaces. Most recently, I did a piece of work with barristers and judges looking at kindness in courtrooms. And, courtrooms are pretty adversarial places. People are trying to win their cases. But we actually had a really fascinating exploration of kindness in that context. And it's turned out to be quite impactful in terms of practices there. So even in a context where people are in a competitive environment and they're trying to get outcomes that are very concrete, very practical outcomes, and in your case, as you said, money in the till, even in that case, actually, the foundation of kindness can be incredibly powerful. It actually gets you there in terms of generating the positive outcomes, even in a competitive environment.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you look at a business where the culture is really not good at all, where it's very controlling, it won't make a lot of money.
That's so
It just
interesting,
won't.
isn't it? Yeah, it's about meeting people's basic human needs, isn't it? Well, there's one other point, and I'm conscious I've got to make sure, my colleagues are telling me that I've got to make sure that we don't just chat endlessly. We must give people a bit of a break. But before we do that, can I just ask one thing? And it's something that's on my mind. You were saying the right people, okay? You have to have the right people. So I'm just trying to work out. So does this culture that you've created, right, very purposefully focused around happiness and kindness and relationships, does that change the way that you approach like recruiting people to get people into the business? I mean, hiring people. I mean, or is it more that you hire people in the normal way and then you work with them around the culture, or have you changed operations basically around recruitment?
Certainly over the years, you'd probably find most businesses would find our recruitment process quite, should we say simple? Simple is the right word. So the majority of our colleagues come via somebody they know or they've heard about Timpson's, whatever. So if we're going to see someone, the only reason we want a CV is for their name and telephone number, and there may be their email address so we can contact them and find them. No other reason.
Nothing else. You're not interested in the rest of a CV.
Yep, we don't care where you've come from, what you've done in the past. It's what you're doing today and what you want to do tomorrow that matters to us. That's what we're interested in. So when we interview people, we might interview them in a Sainsbury's, Costa Coffee, absolutely anywhere. It might be Timpson House, it could be absolutely anywhere. When we interview, for 99% of our roles, it's a chat. And what we're looking for is somebody who's passionate about something, whether that's poetry, sport, the dog, the family, a loved one. It doesn't matter. Is there some passion? Have they got something about them? Have they got some drive and energy? Because we can train somebody to do a role. What we can't do is train a personality. So if we recruit the right personalities and then give them the freedom and autonomy to be the best they can be,
yes,
then it's a win-win situation. It's great for the business and it's great for the colleague who's got that freedom and autonomy to give excellent customer service. But it's about finding those people.
Finding those right people. Where does the passion point come in? What is it about someone who's really passionate about poetry or something like that? Why does that matter? What are you looking for? What is that indexing for you?
Because somebody who's got passion, has generally got some energy and drive to go with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's picking up on that energy and drive to be able to kind of create something, do something. Is it creativity in some way, doing things in a new way?
Yeah. Having the confidence to try things, or being passionate enough to think, actually, that customer that's just come in could be my mother, my grandmother, my uncle. You know, I've got a young child who looks like somebody who's just come in. It's about that connection.
I love that.
We want somebody who's going to think for themselves and go, you know what? I've got this. I'll try this. This might work. It might not work, but I've got confidence to try. And we want to empower people to do that. Even if they try something that doesn't work, that's fine.
I love
try
that.
it if you think it's the right thing.
It's kind of like readiness to make a connection, right? To try something new and make a connection. I love that. Can you answer a couple of questions? I think I'm asking my colleagues behind the scenes. Can you post the next poll? Okay, fantastic. So we wanted to get a sense from you about what kindness in a business or workplace context means to you, especially after having listened to Janet's really insightful discussions. And then also, this is the poll that hopefully we can pick up on after the break, Janet. Which of the following do you think is the biggest barrier to kindness at work? Because Janet, what we're going to try and do in the discussion afterwards, we didn't plan this yet, but Janet, we're going to see what people think is the barriers. And then hopefully, Janet, you'll help us find some solutions of how we're going to deal with those barriers. Does that sound all right?
That sounds amazing.
All right, fantastic. Listen, everybody, please do answer those questions. And then please do look after yourself, have a comfort break, make yourself a cup of tea, and we will be back. Fantastic. So hopefully you have made yourself a nice cup of tea, and we'll jump straight back into our conversation. It's been so interesting. Janet, do you enjoy talking about the work that you do as the Director of Happiness? Because people must be asking you about that role all the time. Do you enjoy talking?
I absolutely love it. This is actually my favourite part is sharing with other people, because it's so real and because it happens all day, every day for me. It's just the most natural thing. So yeah, I absolutely adore talking about it. I really do.
I can tell. It's just absolutely lovely to have this conversation. And I think people are finding it really inspiring as well. Now, talking about being inspired by this, please do raise your questions, express your inspiration, but also any reservations that you have, any comments or questions, please put them in the Q&A, because we're going to make sure we leave plenty of time for answering your questions and responding to your reflections and observations. I'm really keen to hear about how people are feeling about kindness in their own workplaces, what it's like for them. So please do respond with that. But let's have a look here at the poll responses. Janet, can you see that now as well? This has just popped up on my screen.
Yes, I can.
This was I was hoping that we'd be able to get a word cloud from the which word question, but maybe not. I know colleagues behind the scenes might be working to make that happen. But let's look at the barriers question. Okay, so barriers, because we gave quite a few options. It looks like number one barrier, um, and that fits just perfectly with what you said, Janet. The number one barrier looks like it was burnout, stress, and mental health struggles. Does that resonate, Janet? Do you see that as well?
Yes, definitely,
It's kind of
definitely.
like there's so it's almost like your own capacity to spread the kindness is limited by the burnout and stress that you're having.
Yes, and that can happen, and people do then feel disconnected or don't have the energy to carry on because they're just not supported in the way that
Right.
they should be.
That's really interesting. And that actually, you said disconnected. That's the second one. If you look at it, the second most
Mm,
frequently selected barrier was feeling disconnected, lacking a sense of belonging or community.
mm.
It's really interesting, isn't it? How do you
It is.
override that? I mean, because that it does feel like a bit of a barrier if people are not feeling like they're connected, and if people are feeling like stress is up to here, how do you begin to turn that around? Because like you said, the first thing I think you said about the resources that you need for doing this, the investment you need to put in, is the time and the energy. But what if people don't have the time or the energy? How do you begin to turn things around?
Well, you certainly need, and I'm not suggesting it's got to be 100% of the population in any business, but you certainly need a hardcore of people who can
Like
keep
a
going,
critical mass of
a
people.
critical mass. And what you'll find, an example of this is when we acquire a business, we end up with three groups of people. Okay. We have the people that say, you're all a bunch of idiots when we start talking about kindness and support and what we can do for you and what we want you to do for us. So we have a section of people who go, no chance, you're crazy. We need to move on, and they'll move on very quickly. Then we get a group of people who say, thank goodness you've arrived. I know you're a bit crazy, but you certainly sound a lot better than the previous business. So we're happy. We're definitely staying. We love it, and I get it. And I want people to be kind and support me and listen to me, so I
Yeah.
feel needed. And then we get a group of people who are really unsure,
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
think, well, I tell you what, I'm not convinced by this bunch of lunatics who are all a bit crazy and mad. However, I'm going to see how it goes over a period of time. So what you can do in situations like that is effectively use the colleagues that really get it straight away, because some
Yeah.
people do quicker than others, just like in a school, some children get it quicker than others. Use those to encourage the others.
So it's like building on strength, right?
It is not weakness on strength.
I like that. I mean, again, back to my work, a lot of the work that I do in education around social emotional difficulties is actually not starting with the difficulties, actually starting with the points of strength and
Hmm.
building on those. That's really interesting. So, again, I'll just give you a little stat from our that big online study that we did. We had people working in all different sectors who answered the questions on the BBC kindness test that we ran, and we asked people about how much kindness is valued in the workplace. And the stat was the average level was on a scale from 1 to 5 was 3.9. And I thought actually that was pretty good, as well above the midpoint of the scale, right?
Mm.
And that was about kindness being valued in the workplace. But as I discussed with many people, it didn't mean that kindness was easy to find in the workplace, although it was always there in the workplace, but they felt that when it was there, it was really valued. So do you think that actually, on the whole, people do respond well to this? That on the whole, if you've got that critical mass of people who are actually demonstrating it, actually living and breathing it, walking the talk, if you like, do you feel that actually that does resonate with people and it brings the whole organization on? Do people kind of go along with that?
100%. When people see, we talk about when people see what good looks like, then they
Mm-hmm.
can follow. When people see what kindness looks like, they will follow. People are, and you'll know this more than anybody, people who are kind are happier people. People who are kind tend to have a very positive outlook in life.
So interesting, isn't it?
Because being kind helps us emotionally. If you're giving something to somebody because you're being kind, you're helping yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like, again, it's not like a trade-off between self and other. Actually, the
No.
two are going hand in hand as well. And actually, we find that a lot in the research on kindness. We talk about self-kindness or self-compassion as being as important for mental health. In fact, very often even more important for mental health than directing it outwards to other people as well. The two things go together, and it's both and, not either or.
I think a lot of people in business as well feel that if they were to be kind to somebody, it would be misinterpreted.
That was one of them. We
And
saw
they're
that
af-
in the
and they're
polls.
afraid. They're afraid of putting themselves out there in
Yeah,
case they're embarrassed or which is a real shame
yeah. Do you
because
know,
it's that fear
actually,
factor.
Janet, that fear factor is really interesting because there is that perception, that worry about it. We found in the British sample in particular, in the kindness test, that was the number one barrier that people identified. And it's really interesting. Just, I mean, obviously, there's a much smaller sample from the people here today where they talked about burnout and stress being a major factor. But in the kindness test a few years ago, what people said was a number one barrier was that fear of being misinterpreted. And the interesting thing was when we actually asked people about their experiences of being kind to other people, I mean, the incidents where people talked about it was embarrassing were minuscule. It hardly
Mm,
ever happened. And
mm.
yet people feared that it would happen. Do you get that kind of a reaction to talking about kindness in a workplace context as well? That people fear it, fear the misinterpretation, embarrassment more than it actually happens.
Definitely fear it more, and they just feel that people are going to think they're soft.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, no, they're the total opposite. See, in our business, we praise kindness. We
You
shout about
celebrate it,
kindness.
you
We
recognize.
celebrate it. It's a real success for us. We have an intranet, an internal intranet, and our colleagues will post stuff on there all the time about their random acts of kindness. So we talk about that all the time, and that can be a random act of kindness for another colleague, or it can be a random act of kindness for a customer. And they'll post it, and we want to celebrate those successes, and we do celebrate them. We
That's
shout
really
about them.
lovely because, you know, that goes back to the point that I made in the research as well, which shows that seeing kindness, noticing kindness is a predictor of independent, predictor of well-being. So
Mm.
we know that even the act of seeing kindness around you, noticing
Hmm.
it, is related to a kind of a boost in well-being as well. So that fits with that. You're actively, purposefully recognizing it in the workplace.
Yeah. And an act of kindness doesn't have to cost anything.
That's the point, isn't it? It's so fascinating because I think sometimes people feel that, oh, they don't have the capacity to do it or they don't have the resources to do it. But actually, when we ask people about kindness, and this was true even in the latest project we did this year in courtrooms, it was often tiny, tiny things that people are doing, but they have a big impact. It wasn't a big thing. It was just like you were describing, Janet, checking in with someone, even just a smile sometimes, right? People did talk about that. Even just a smile made the difference. So I'm
Yeah.
really interested in the fact that you're celebrating it in that.
If you can make somebody's day that little bit better, then it's all been worthwhile, hasn't it? Just that one person in a
Yeah,
day that
that's
you've
really
assisted
interesting.
just by being nice or being kind or doing something very small or offering
That's
to make
really
somebody a cup of
interesting.
tea or like you say, smiling, asking them how they are. Just that one
Yeah,
thing that might take you a second.
yeah,
For somebody, that could be a massive thing if they've just had a really bad day or the children are playing up at home or they're very tired and they've not slept. Just that one thing can make a massive difference and they don't ever forget it. You can move on very quickly. We all do it, don't we? We do something, we move on very quickly. The person that you've done that for, I get messages from people that they might text me, WhatsApp me, email me, ring me, and they'll go, "Hi, it's only me again. You helped me 8 months ago. I just wanted to say thanks so much because we've now done this, 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 and this." Now I've moved on because it's like 8 months on, but they've never forgotten it.
They've not forgotten that. It's had that lasting, durable impact because it changes your ideas about what people are like, right?
Yes,
And it's
yes,
building trust in humanity, basically, isn't it? It's
it is.
it's building that sense of actually this is a place. It's almost like a model of the world, a model of people about what are people like? What is this world like? You know,
It
that's
is.
what you're actually transforming. It's so
And
interesting.
the other thing is that if people are having a bad day or a difficult time at home, or they feel very isolated.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
knowing that somebody's got a connection with, or somebody says, "I'm here for you. Let's think about it together. Tell me more about it, and let's see what we can do together." It just halves the problem to start with. Immediately, that person thinks, actually, somebody does care about me and somebody is on my side, even though I'm in a mess or things are difficult. People
It's
feel
true.
better.
So recognizing that feels really important, right? Because it's not just that that happens and you take it for granted. You're not taking it for granted. You're actually celebrating it. Like you said in your, I can't remember what you called it, but that 16-page report, you'll have the financial figures and the outcomes and things like that on the last page. But the bulk of it is about celebrating the relationship, celebrating the connections. I love
Yes.
that. So, but you know, Timpson is a big company. You've got thousands of colleagues in
Mm.
Timpson, which means that you must have a really big operation in terms of finances and legal and all the things that come with a big company. Does it change those operations as well? I mean, or is this something that's just like a completely separate thing? I mean, is it affecting how things are done in all the different parts of the business besides simply the branches and the work that they're doing?
We're like, there's 5,000 colleagues in our business,
Okay.
okay, within our group, 5,000. But we've still got a small family mentality. So
Okay. Tell me
imagine,
more about that. What does a small family mentality mean?
because we all know each other, we're all connected in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though there
So
are 5,000 of you.
honestly, you'd be amazed how many people know. And don't forget, we've got this magazine every week with lots of pictures in it, lots of, it might be somebody says, "Ah, I spoke to Robin loads of times, but I've actually seen him now in the Timpson Group news." We have lots of things like that, lots of connecting things going on like that. So a bit like take your family. It feels
Okay.
like your family, but just with a lot more family members in it. So
That's
we
really
managed to
good.
keep it feeling small and comfortable, cozy. When I say comfortable, I don't mean feet up, relaxed. Definitely, we are driven. Believe you me, we are driven. But it's still got that warm connection. Like when I come home at night, see my husband, that feeling of security, safe, somebody cares, somebody will look out for me if things get really difficult for me. But in return, I've got to show my love and compassion, be honest, have integrity, you know, always be truthful, don't lie, don't steal, all the normal things.
It's the rights, but also the responsibilities as well, right?
Yes.
That's so interesting. So, I mean, it's a wonderful picture that you've painted of the work that you've been doing. And I have to say, I'm really more minded than ever to come to Timpson House and take you up on that kind invitation to see it in
Definitely. You come
person.
on
I've got to
over.
say, I absolutely would love to do that. Has there been any difficulty along the way in this journey? Because it's a really transformative journey that you've been
Mm.
on over all of these years.
Mm.
What problems have you encountered? Because there must have been problems along the
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest, most difficult times for our business, just like everybody else, was COVID.
way. Oh, absolutely, because it's a very customer facing, right? You know,
Of
it's
course. So there were two things there. The first thing was that we needed to make 20% of our colleagues redundant.
Right.
Okay, which is never easy, as you can imagine. But when we've got a difficult decision to make, we go in hard and we go in fast.
Okay.
So whilst other business was sitting back going, oh, what we're going to do, what's going to happen, and we were making decisions very, very quickly.
That goes back to that point that you were making about being really driven as well.
Yep.
And how did
Yep.
you do that while preserving? Because I mean, that is, as everybody knows, that's one of the most difficult things for any organization.
Of course.
How did you preserve the culture of relationships and connection in a context where you're talking about people's jobs?
By being very open and very honest and very direct. So none of the fluffy stuff. Obviously, there's processes to follow with
Yeah,
redundancies and all that was followed. But we didn't hang back, we didn't hide behind things. We say it as it is, and because our business is so open, that people believe that it's the truth. So if we need to do something, we'll do it properly, we'll do it quickly, and then we'll move on from it very, very quickly. So what we don't do is dwell on things that are difficult to deal with. We deal with them, we move on from them.
that's really interesting. And is that a whole company kind of an orientation as well? Does everybody have that? Because you can think about problems at a very big level like that when you're thinking about a major kind of redundancy program, but also there's going to be small problems that individual branches are going to be coming across as well. Is that mentality of being very open, but making decisions, acting on them quickly, and being able to move on quickly, is that something that is kind of throughout the organization and will happen even at the individual branch level?
Yes, yes, yes. So if we've got a colleague, like let's just say we've got a colleague who's not great, we want what we would call superstars in our business, nines and tens, people who are great, people who've got whatever it takes. We want people like that. If we've got that right and we've recruited properly, we've got those people. But we all know there's a very small percentage in any business who aren't quite the nines or the tens, some maybe eights who can improve. But if we've got a colleague who's just not performing, we've tried to help them, we've tried
Yeah,
to support them,
yeah.
then what we will do is ask them to find the happiness elsewhere.
Okay, okay,
We're
yeah.
not afraid to have those conversations.
Because there has to be the fit with that culture.
That's right, because if they're not happy and they're not performing, and we're not happy because they're not performing, then the relationship's going to break down. It's not going to work. And in our
Right.
business, we haven't got time for people who don't want to be there for whatever reason.
It's so interesting because what I'm taking from this conversation, and I'm really interested to see what people have said in the Q&A as well. But what I'm taking from it is that things that often are presented as if they're in opposition to each other, you're actually bringing them all together. The scarcity of time, needing to do things fast, the pressure in terms of commercial outcomes, right? As you put it, Janet, money in the till, right?
Yes.
You've got that, the emotional well-being and burnout and stress and the mental health difficulties or disconnection, right? Well-being, relationships. Actually, rather than those things being in opposition to each other, you're putting them all together. You're saying that they go hand in hand. Scarcity of time, the commercial pressure, the emotional well-being and relationships, actually, they all have to work together in the business.
They do, and so they should.
Yeah, because I think that isn't often how a lot of people will approach it usually, right? They'll say that actually you're either focusing on this or you're focusing on that. It's like what I was saying back in schools, right? You're either focusing on the academic performance or you're focusing on the relationships and well-being. And I'm always like, no, you can bring these things together. And in fact, you need to bring them together because actually, by supporting relationships and well-being, children and young people are going to be more likely to be ready to access the curriculum.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that
It's
fits with the
the
commercial.
connection. The connection is the foundation of any business, of any family, of any individual.
I
That's
love
the
that.
basis, the core basis. And if you've got that in business, then the business can thrive. But
That's
most
amazing.
people don't start with that. I think that's the issue.
That's the thing. And we, especially if kindness is seen as a soft thing, if it's seen as this kind of fluffy thing, that's kind of like a nice to have when you've got time, but otherwise you can't do it. And what you're doing is you're turning that on its head. So
Yes.
that's really fantastic insight. Listen, Janet, I must open up. My colleagues are reminding me as well. I must open up the Q&A. Let's see. We've got paragraphs. Janet, people have been very motivated because they're writing whole paragraphs here. This is fantastic. All right. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do justice. There are loads of questions here. Janet, I hope it's all right if I just do some quick fire. I'm going to select some
Of
bits
course.
from here. Okay. So, first question. Is this basically an HR role or is it a sales or customer service role? I think they're talking about the director of happiness, you. I think they're talking about you. Is this HR? Is this sales or customer service? In which department is this role embedded?
It's an independent role. It's an
Okay.
independent role, but I do work closely with what we would call colleague support. Other people might call it HR,
Okay.
but it
Okay.
is a purely independent role.
And actually, I mean, from everything that you've said, what you're doing, Janet, actually intersects with everything.
It does.
Because it's not just about the HR, it's got
No.
connections with lots of other things as well. That's so interesting. Okay, here's another question, a quick one. How do you look for kindness when employing staff? Now, you talked about the passion before. What about kindness? Do you look for kindness and how do you do that?
When we interview, we do look for kindness, but what we want is to talk to the potential colleague about their lifestyle, what matters to them. I think that's the key.
Okay, so
Now,
it's very personal then, isn't it? Very personal.
very personal. It's a two-way street. It's like you and I are talking now. That's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is about what matters. Now, if a potential colleague says nothing matters, I don't really know. I mean, that's not the sort of person we're looking for. We want somebody who said, you know what matters to me? My dog, my cat, my pet snake, whatever it is that matters. That's what really matters to me in life. You know, why does it matter? Because I really love it, or whatever reason. It could be absolutely anything. We're looking for something that matters to that person, that
So,
they care
okay,
about something.
so let me take this into a different place because it's something that I know Timpson is quite famous for, and I've been really struck by it. And that is that there's a lot of work around this kind of concept of a second chance. Because if I'm right in saying that, Timpson has become quite famous for employing quite a significant number of ex-offenders from prison.
Yes.
How does that match up with that kind of personal looking for kindness and looking for that kind of personal drive and passion? Does that go together as well?
It certainly does. When we go into prisons to recruit, we're looking for the same standards that we would be looking on the high street.
That's
The only
interesting.
difference is we know where somebody who's either in prison or has just come out of prison has been. Now, I might turn up for an interview with you today. You don't know where I've been. I could
True.
have done anything,
Yeah,
but at
yeah,
least that way we know what's gone on.
yeah,
And we do think that people make mistakes in life. We've all made some mistakes, haven't we? We've all done something.
absolutely.
Some of us haven't been caught, some people have been caught for things, all sorts of things. But yeah, we do believe that people do deserve a second chance. And a lot of the people we recruit from prison have found themselves in there because they generally could be quite cheeky. And it makes them brilliant with customers because they've taken chances that you and I might not take. Yeah. So it makes them, especially in branches, they make brilliant branch managers because they have a confidence and they
Absolutely.
also have a different life experience that they bring to our business that you and I might not be able to have because we've never, I go in and out of prisons, but I've certainly never lived in one.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so they bring a different resilience.
That's so interesting. So it's almost a distinctive set of strength in that
It's all
population.
about the strengths. It's not about focusing on any weaknesses. And why would you focus on the weaknesses? What you've got to look at is what does this potential colleague who's sat in prison today have? What can they offer the business? In return, what can we offer them? And we can utilize those skills. And often they have many skills, many skills.
I love that. And that's so good because what you're doing is actually you're seeing the human being, right?
Yes.
You're seeing the human being. That's so interesting. Let me go to some more questions here. Okay, I've got one. Have you experienced situations where you've provided help with finances of
Hmm.
employees, going back to your number one point about the finances,
Yep.
but it hasn't paid off with the intended return? For example, they haven't been able to pay back the hardship fund and moved on to another job. What happens in that
Yes,
situation? Do you
yes.
just accept it, or how do you do
So
that?
in cases like that, we go back to that rule where you've probably got 5% of your colleagues who are not interested, or they don't want something and they don't care about anybody. It's no good focusing on the people that aren't great. Focus on the great people. So if 95% of the population are brilliant, focus on them, not the people that aren't interested. Still make the effort. And we do get people who move on to another job,
Yeah,
and sometimes we do lose out. We will
yeah,
actively chase. If somebody owes us money, we will chase for them.
right.
However, generally, we don't take them to court. We don't do stuff like that. Um, we would take that loss, and we're prepared for that in order to give the other 95% the help and support financially that they need. We have about £400,000 out there at any time in loans for our colleagues, and we don't charge interest. We charge a
Wow.
5% admin fee, and that's it. And
Wow.
then we'll split it over a long period of time, usually a year, 18 months, sometimes 24, and we deduct it straight from the salary so they don't have to find that money.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because what you're doing is you're making me think that you're always paying attention to the collective. It's not just about the individual employee, it's about the whole collective. So, yes, there will be some cases where, in a sense, you could say the company loses out, but
Hmm.
the investment is in the whole body, the collective. And that's where you get the benefits. And I think that's so true for so many things. When you think about mental health, it often gets individualized as if it's sort of residing inside each person's head. And I always say, well, actually, the answer often isn't about fixing the individual. The answer is fix the environment, right? Think about the whole network of relationships, not just the individual person. And so
That
I
is
really
so
like that
true.
idea that that's what you're doing. You're really paying attention. Like you said, it's the 95%, right? That's what, so that the intended return won't necessarily come through from every single individual, but it'll come
Correct.
through in the collective.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
really lovely. Okay, so here we go. Oh, now here's a challenge for you, okay? Because you've given many tips already. So this is what one person said. It's fabulous that Timpson's has been so forward thinking regarding developing and creating a happy, kind, supportive culture over so many years. Okay, if we're getting started with this, what 3 starter tips would Janet give to an organization wanting to develop this positive work culture?
I think the first one is to say to your senior leaders in any business, stop keeping control. I think as senior leaders, we want
Okay,
control. We don't want to let go. We're too afraid to let go. That's the first thing I'd say. Let go.
let
The
go.
second,
Which is
the
really
second,
hard for a lot of people, right? It's
it
hard for
is.
all of us to let go, but you're saying
Yes,
that you have to give people the autonomy. I mean, there's a lot of psychological research on that, right? Give people the autonomy.
yes, definitely, definitely.
Okay, that's number
The
one.
second, the second one is empower people. Don't tell people what to do. Empower them, because many people are a lot better than they believe they are. So with guidance and empowerment, people can do so much better. Our brains tell us we're not that great, we're not that good, we struggle with things. But actually, if you empower people and say, you've got this, I'm here, but you've got it and you can do it, and I know you can. It
That's
might feel
really
uncomfortable for the person initially to go, oh, but I've seen so many people fly in business who never would have believed in themselves. So I think it's that, forget the controlling element, empower people to
yeah,
be the best they can do,
yeah,
and be very clear and concise with any rules you do have. Like, we have only got 2 rules in our business that cannot be broken. One is look the part, which means look, wear your uniform, wear your badge, make sure that your shop's tidy, make sure your desk is tidy. It's non-negotiable.
Right.
So
Looked
that's
upon.
one rule.
Okay.
And the second one is put the money in the till, which means
Oh,
don't
there it is
steal.
again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Money
don't
in the
steal
till.
time and don't steal money because you'll get caught. So those two rules, we are
Okay.
very clear, non-negotiable. Anything else, it's a guideline. You do what you want. So be very
Wow.
clear when you have got rules what they are, because otherwise people get very confused.
That's a great set of tips, isn't it? Because it's basically keeping things really, really simple, clear and concise, but empowering them, not controlling them.
Yes.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay, here's another one. Oh, this is a paragraph here, which is actually a really beautiful paragraph because I think this is telling us something about what people are struggling with here and now. Okay, this one says, and it goes back to that question I asked you right at the beginning about, is there something special about now where this feels more important than ever? I think this person is thinking maybe so, because this person says, it doesn't feel like kindness is prioritized in contemporary culture. At the same time, happiness seems to be defined as personal accumulation of things. It feels like we're fighting a losing battle for things like authentic happiness. Can Janet offer any thoughts for getting happiness through these somewhat depressing times?
I think it's a difficult one, and I think it's an amazing, amazing question, and I really like it, and I'm with the person, so thank you very much for that. I think for me, it's knowing, especially in a business in these difficult times, it's knowing who you can trust. And I think it's about working closely with those people, collaborate with those people, whether that's one person, 10 people, 20 people, to talk openly about what's going on in society, just like this. I think that's a starting point, especially in any business,
Do you
because,
do that in Timpson? Do you create that
yeah,
space for people to have those kinds of conversations?
100%. We do. We'll talk openly about society, about things in the news, about the politics, about stuff like that.
Do you?
Um,
Because that's really interesting, Janet, because a lot of people, I know this from speaking with just friends working in different companies or businesses, they often say there's actually a rule against it, right? Leave your leave your personal thoughts about
uh,
what's going on in the world at the door. We don't talk about that.
no. You see, in our business, because we've got such an open culture, then we all do have connections with people where we can talk openly about, like, say, what's going on in the news or politics or society in general, because we trust one another. So I think it's just finding
It's
that
trust.
base.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting. Here's someone who's picked up on something that, yeah, I hadn't commented on it, but absolutely, it's worth bringing out. So here's someone saying a comment. I love how you refer to the traditional label employee as colleagues, equals. I don't like to be called a boss, this person goes on to say, because I'm not. I don't use the phrase that people work for me, but we work together alongside. It builds that workplace culture. So you've been saying colleagues all the way through, Janet.
Mhm.
Is that a Timpson thing or is that a you thing?
It's a Timpson thing. So it's probably about 15, 16, maybe 17 years ago now. Um, we felt the word staff, employee, it just didn't feel right. So we started on this journey, again, a journey where we wanted to talk about colleagues, whether you're the most senior colleague, most junior colleague, you're just a colleague. We're all colleagues together,
Yeah,
okay? But I talked previously about having to reinforce certain things. So when you make
yeah,
a change in culture, it takes a long time to change it effectively. So you have to keep reinforcing it. So even
absolutely.
today, if I'm talking to a colleague about something and a colleague refers to an employee or staff, I would automatically say colleague. We use that. So you have to keep using the same
You
term over
have
and
to
over
keep
again.
using it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there's
We're all
something about
important.
yeah, and there's something about continually raising it in the consciousness of everybody in the organization, isn't it? Yeah,
That is
that's
correct.
really interesting. So here we go. Here's the one which is, again, it's the point about the money in the till thing, which is a really memorable phrase that you've used a few times, Janet. This person says, how do we encourage traditional private sector companies that kindness not only benefits the culture of the business, but also the bottom line results for the business? At leadership level, it feels like a real challenge to get people to understand and accept this. So how do you persuade them?
I think that is an issue, and I host lots of businesses who come and say, my main problem is the chairman, the CEO, he's just not getting it. What do I do? And I always say, be dogmatic, don't give up. You need the people at the top, or in our case at the bottom, but
Yeah,
people at the top
yeah.
to get it. Because people often say, yeah, yeah, we've got it, we've got it. No, they need to live and breathe it too. Because your more junior colleagues need to see them in action.
So there's that walking the talk that needs
Yes,
to happen by the senior leaders in the organization, I think what you're saying.
yes. And
Okay,
somebody's got to get through to them. And the more we talk about these things, and the more people that I host at Timpson House, and the more businesses get involved, the easier it will be, because we are moving in that direction. Whether business leaders like it or not, there are more and more businesses doing this sort of thing now. Things have changed over the last 10 years. And it's more important
absolutely.
because colleagues now in any business expect it.
Yeah, yeah. And people are really searching for connections now, aren't
They
they?
are.
That's really important. Okay, the directionality. Here's a really good question about the directionality of the connections. Okay. So this person says, you say people who are kind are happier people. I agree. Whilst I agree, doesn't a reciprocal culture matter? Or else, isn't there a danger of burnout, even with kindness, if you end up feeling you're giving out more than you get back?
That can happen. Again, you've got to know your own mind, your own body.
Mhm, mhm.
You can't give what you've not got. And we
So it's
spend a
looking
lot,
after yourself as well, then.
yes, which is very important. We really do promote healthy well-being at work. Now we do that for two reasons. One is we want people to be happy, we want people to work hard and do well, but we want them to be fit and able to come into work.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what we do, if when you do come to Timpson House, you'll see we've got a really nice gym in Timpson House.
Okay.
It's a win-win situation. It's free for the colleague. The colleague can use it any time of the day.
Wow.
But in return, we've got colleagues who are healthier for it. We
Yeah,
feed them well to make sure they're getting at least one great meal a day.
yeah, yeah.
That's after they've had the breakfast in the morning, because we all have our breakfast there as well. So they're getting a good meal again, so they're healthy.
So
And
it's really that point about investing in the whole human being, right? Not just the
yes,
bit that they do at work, if you like, but the
that's
whole
right.
human being.
Yeah. And if my role is to look after people, I can't look after them if I don't look after myself. So I would be failing everybody if I didn't look after myself. So for me, when I'm not at work and not eating, sleeping, I exercise because that's my thing. It could be that somebody reads poetry or they do knitting. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is, but we've all got to find our thing that says you need time for yourself now.
Right. Right. That's really interesting.
Otherwise,
So
you're letting other people down and yourself.
that's so interesting. So, okay, we're nearly at the end of time, but and I'm really sorry to everybody who's put in so many questions. I can't get through all of them, but we will share them, and I'll share them with you afterwards as well, Janet. I just want to ask a couple. Gosh, I'm just trying to scroll through as well. All right, here's a question, which is like, how did it all start for you? So this person says, how did Janet get into happiness? Did she have a revelation? I quite like that question. What prompted it, and what can we learn from your revelation to help others have the realization that this is vital for work?
I think so. Obviously, I've spent my whole of my adult life in finance, so I was finance manager previous to this. And
Okay,
interestingly
that's
enough,
interesting. From
people,
finance.
so people used to say to me, finance doesn't normally have personalities like you in it naturally. I just because I've always been quite a lively person. I was like, that is so wrong. It's full of personalities, big personalities. But the reason that they ended up like this is because James Timpson, who is not with us at the moment because he's obviously a prisons minister, hopefully he'll be back very soon though. He's really, really good. So as the CEO, he recognises that if you've got great people in your business, put them in a role that you think is going to work and encourage them to be in that role. So in 2017, James said we were getting a lot bigger, we were doing more things, and James and John spend a lot of time out and about in branches, going to branches, finding out what's going on. That's what they do all the time. Okay, so what James wanted was somebody else to be doing that as well. So it was a case of get out there, find out if colleagues are happy. If they're not, why not? Are they being supported? If they're not, why are they not being supported? And that's how it all started.
It's very practical again, isn't it? Very practical.
Yes, yes. It's about finding somebody and thinking, you know what, a role like this would really suit that person, and then encouraging them to go and do it. But that was the start. My job role, my job role was just get out there. Literally, that was my job spec. Get out there.
I love it. But that gave you the creativity again, empowered you to be able
exactly, which is why we
Oh,
do what we say on the tin.
oh, that's amazing. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Janet. That's been such an insightful conversation. Listen, I'm going to hold on to you for one more minute. I'm going to ask my colleagues. We would like to know from the people who are here if they're interested in staying in touch with us at the Research Centre, if they're interested in professional development or interested in getting involved in research in a workplace, please fill out the little, I'm not going to show answers obviously on screen, but please give your details here and then we'll be able to get you onto our mailing list and respond to you. But while people are doing that, Janet, can I just pick up one question that someone asked, which I think is a really good one, and it's kind of a personal one for you as well, right? After having had this big discussion about kindness and happiness, what does kindness actually boil down to for you? What is your personal definition of kindness? What does it really come down to for you? And what can we advise people about that, right, in terms of workplaces?
For me, kindness is about being very honest, being very direct, and supporting people. Those three things for me are, and being direct is really, really important. And I think that's what a lot of people can't do. So it's about having a difficult conversation, not shying away from it.
That's so interesting because, you know, Janet, a paper that we published about 5 years ago, or maybe a bit longer than that, we were talking with teenagers about kindness. And do you know one of the words that they used? Honesty.
Yes.
They used that same word. And I was really struck by the nuances. These were only like 12 to 14-year-olds, okay? I was really struck by that because they said it's not about being nice to people all the time. It's actually because, you know, what's kind in the short term might not be kind in the long term. What's kind to one person might not be kind to someone else. And sometimes the kindest thing is about being honest with someone. So I'm really struck that you've pulled that out as well. So it's support with other people, but there's actually a foundation of honesty in there as well. So that openness, that directness, but with a culture of support. And that's really beautiful. Thank you so much, Janet. Janet, what a wonderful way to start this series of conversations for the Sussex Kindness Symposium. You've made it super special for me, and I hope everybody who's been joining us has really enjoyed it as well. Janet, have you enjoyed the conversation too?
It's been amazing. I've absolutely loved it, honestly. It's
thank you
been
so
really,
much.
really good.
It's been absolutely inspiring for me. Thank you very much, Janet. And thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you for all your wonderful questions and comments. And I really look forward to staying in touch with you and seeing you again at a future Sussex Kindness Symposium. Thank you from everybody at the Sussex Centre for Research on Kindness and all my colleagues who are behind the scenes making it all possible. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you. Bye.
Fantastic. Bye-bye. Take care, Janet. Bye.